Hi everyone, this is Stephanie. I go by StampJG here on YouTube and at my blog at stampjg.com. And today we're going to take a look at the Deco Foil Therm-o-web Metallix Gels. These take the place of an embossing or a stenciling paste, but they are gels and they also have properties of metallic. They dry to either a metallic sheen with a little bit of sparkle, or they dry to a little bit of a pearlescent sheen just with a kind of a little bit of an iridescence. They're very, very beautiful and they're very easy to work with. I've enjoyed working with them. So in today's video, I am going to do some swatches so that you can see what they look like. I am going to do a couple of techniques with them, and then I will do a card project at the end, which is a remake of a card I did in my last video. But this time I'm going to make it a little bit more of a masculine card. So I hope this sounds like fun. I hope you'll stick around, and please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with your friends if you find it helpful. Thanks again, and let's get some swatches. Okay, so let's go over the colors real quick. There are 6 colors, and they range from, let me start with this one. This color here is White Pearl, and it looks more like an embossing paste. You can't quite tell from my lighting here. There's a little bit of an iridescence to it, but you will see that a little bit more when the paste dries. Keep calling it a paste, I apologize. It is a gel, and it actually acts a little bit more like a gel than a paste. The second color is Champagne Mist, and it is a warmer champagne color with a very cool sheen to it, even in the jar. And then we've got Pewter. Actually, it's called Glazed Pewter. And this looks very nice. The jars are 2 fluid ounces, and the directions on the back, if I could get them closer if you want to read them, but I will say Metallix Gel adds beautiful shine and dimension to projects. Smooth and easy to apply. Apply to stencil design, remove excess gel and return to the jar. Let dry 1 hour. Clean stencil immediately. I will second that you want to clean your stencils immediately, and depending upon where you live, it could take a little bit less or a little bit longer to dry. Then the bottom, these are your more standard colors. We've got Pure Gold, and honestly, when this doesn't do it justice in the jar, when you guys see this dry, it's just amazing. It has such a metallic shine to it. Aged Copper, kind of a deep bronzy-ish, copper-ish kind of thing. And this is called Black Ice. And Black Ice almost looks matte. It's kind of interesting, so we'll have to see what this looks like when it's dry. So these are the 6 current colors in the line, and I am going to go ahead and make some swatches. I am working today on the Wendy, Vecchi, and Ranger Make Art Station. I gave a in-depth review of this on my previous video, which I will link up in the cards and down in the description below. It was part of the Save the Crafty YouTuber blog hop, and I want to thank so many of you for joining me on that. That was a lot of fun. And I go into the pros and cons of this. As you can see, there's a few cons. You need to be careful when you clean this, or else if you use a solvent or alcohol, or if you scratch it very badly, you could lose the painted grid lines. Other than that, it's actually a very, very nice tool. But I'm going to protect my surface with a little bit of Glad Press and Seal. This adds just enough of a cover onto the metal board that my stencil paste doesn't get all over the place. Let me go this way here. And it sticks just enough that you don't necessarily need magnets. And it's inexpensive, and you ball it up and you throw it away when you're done with it. You certainly can use a Ranger craft mat. They make a 9-inch craft mat, or you can cut down one of the larger ones, and that would work on here just as well. That's a cool product as well. What I'm going to be doing is I have decided to take a 4-inch by 3-inch piece of cardstock, and I'm going to adhere with some tape runner. Somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to be too particular about this. And I am going to be using a tonic Nuvo spatula. It's one of a set that they have. These are cool little tools too. These fit in the jar nicely. These are silicone tips, and they resist having the stuff not bake on, but you know, dry on hard, so you can clean them. You get a little more time to clean these off. But they fit in the jar a little bit better than the Stencil Pal. The Stencil Pal, I will show you how it works in a little bit. This is just such a simple, straightforward piece of coated plastic or something, but it really makes a nice even layer of stenciling very easy. But that's good for stenciling, but it does not fit in the jar real great. So that's why you still need other tools, or a palette knife, piece of cardstock, whatever you've got on hand. Okay, so my first one here is white pearl, and I'm just going to take a little bit, just a little bit, and I am going to just swipe it onto my cardstock. I am not looking for even coverage. I just want to swipe it across and kind of see what happens. I want to see it on black and white, and that's all I'm going to do for this. And you can see a little bit of the iridescence, and I'm not going to, you know, work at it and try to get perfectly smooth, but I just want to get some onto cardstock, and then I'm going to put it aside to dry. So here's a look at my swatch cards before, and I will be back when these are dry. So these are the samples that I did, and I let them dry overnight. And I'm going to try to get them a little closer to the camera so you can see the real beautiful shine and metallic finish on these. This is the black ice. This is glazed pewter. There we go, you can catch some of the sparkles this way. The black ice here, whoops. The black ice is not as metallic, but it's got a beautiful, almost gunmetal look. Let's see, we've got the white pearl. It's got a very nice slight iridescence. Here's the champagne. And this is the aged copper. And finally, the pure gold. One of the cool little tips and tricks I want to show you with working with the paste is that you can actually blend some of these to come up with really interesting looks. I'm going to start with this champagne mist. It's these are very creamy, buttery kind of. And I'm just going to put a dab on my cardstock, and I'm going to wipe this off on a baby wipe. so I don't contaminate it when I dip back into the jar. And I have some aged copper. You know, these little spatulas from Nuvo are really good. They reach into the jar, and I've noticed that if the paste dries on here, I can actually get it off, even though it's dried on there. It's kind of nice. I believe it's made out of silicone. So these are kind of handy little tools. And this is the white pearl. I didn't want all that much of this, but... So I've got a couple little dabs on my cardstock. Okay, so I've put 3 different colors on my cardstock, and I'm just going to start blending this and playing with it on my piece of cardstock. Now this is not going to be a mixture you're going to want to put back in your jar, so you might not want to use quite as much as I've used here. But if I wanted a really unique blend, I would just kind of put it in, and I've left some texture here. It's kind of a neat thing, and let's see what happens when this ends up drying. Got a little bit left on my spatula here, so let's just kind of just work it all in together and see what we get when we play with it. Now it's kind of turning into an interesting murky tan color, but I don't know what it's going to look like when it dries. So I'm going to clean off my tool and let this dry, and we'll come back and take a look. Okay, I have put down a piece of craft cardstock. It's kind of a piece that I cut off of a card back that I wasn't going to use. And I'm going to blend some of these metallic gels together on this cardstock and then go let it dry. And the thought is that I would do with this is I would try die cutting. Because I'm going to make a really cool blend, I would like to be able to die cut it. So let's see here. Actually, let me take a little bit of this. This is, that was the aged copper. And take a bit of the glazed pewter. And just kind of goop a little bit out onto my project here. And finally, a little bit of gold. I think 3 colors should be fine. Right up the middle with this gold. And you do want to cover your jars as well as possible. And I'm going to mix this just a little bit, but not too much. Kind of move the paste around my project, and then I'm going to take this Stencil Pal and I'm just going to gently drag it down my project. This will give me a little bit of an even blend, and I'm going to try to cover up any holes that might appear in the middle, like right there. And I'm just going to drag it down and try to make it smooth as possible. Now this has managed to put some lines. Yep, let me just get stuff everywhere. So if I come back in a different direction, all the lines will be straightened out. So I am going to set this blend aside to dry. I'm just going to take a scrap of cardstock and I'm just going to clean off my tool by dragging it. See if I can't keep a little bit more of this paste. So you can see if you had stencil tools or texture tools where you can make texture in this as well. So now I'm gonna let all that dry and go clean off my tools, and I'll be back. Happens if you take a blend and you put it through a stencil. I blended this. This one right here got a little more blended than the other one, so it's kind of, but this is where I let the colors kind of shine through. So you can get like a really, really industrial look with this. This was kind of fun. Well, here I am back with the blends that I dried. And this is the very thin one we did that's kind of all mixed in. That's very, very thin on the paper. There's very little texture, but it just adds a nice metallic sheen. This one is highly textured. That's where I was trying to get all the paste off my spatula. Here is a very textured piece, all dry. And the one I did on craft that has more of a mottled metallic appearance, and I tried to get it pretty flat, but I didn't. So these are my blends, and what I want to try with this is I want to die cut these. This is kind of why I wanted to keep them mostly thin, but I am going to try it with this very textured piece to see how that works. And we are going to die cut some letters. This is a very thin application of 3 different Metallix gels to just craft cardstock. And so I think this will die cut very well without a problem. Now, of course, when you die cut your paper that has had the Metallix gel put on it, you really, really, really want to make sure that the gel is very dry. And I applied it very thinly, so it dried probably within a few hours at least. It has been several hours since I checked on it. So that die cut very cleanly. Next item I wanted to try die cutting is this piece. It's a thicker cardboard, but you can see here where I have quite a bit of texture on this. And I want to see what happens when I go to die cut this. And this die cut pretty well. The paste is very thick so that you can see that there's kind of a beveled edge. Let me see if I can get really close. You can kind of see that the die created a beveled edge around it, which may or may not be the look that you want to go for. Okay, I am trying to make a more masculine version of this card using pretty much the same supplies. And so far what I've done is I've stenciled the background with the aged copper Metallix gel. I have die cut the word yay from paper that I spread a thin layer of the Metallix gel and various colors on, kind of making a mottled kind of metallic-y background. Oops, let me spell yay correctly over here. And I've die cut 2 of the leaves from Gina K Designs, one with a background of the Metallix gel and one out of just black paper. I am popping up the word yay with foam tape that I've cut into very skinny strips. Just like my previous video, I'm working on the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. I'm just going to press that into place real well. And then the leaf, I am just gonna put on the inside. Okay, so here's where I wish I had die cut this or made a die cut from using the black ice paste, because I think that would have added to the shine. This is kind of just boring right now. I can't quite think of what I could use to apply this with. So I am going to try very gently. I'm gonna get myself in trouble. This is where the video goes wrong, and normally I turn it off and I start all over. What I actually need is probably a little paintbrush. Okay, this is how we wreck a card very easily, unfortunately. Trying to add details. While the card is already put together. And I probably should have just sacrificed I should have just sacrificed a paintbrush. It would have been easier than applying this with a toothpick. But the card must go on. Okay, I am going to let this dry, and then I will come back with photos at the very end. So I took similar supplies and made a masculine and a feminine version of this card. Not half bad. This one I of course like more because it's more colorful, but this is not too bad for a guy, huh? I don't know, what do you think? Be candid in your comments, and I appreciate you spending time with me today. Thank you so much, and I hope you got inspired to use whatever tools and products you have at home to create a birthday card for someone you love today. See you in the next video. Bye!